You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
What's up, guys? It's Braden here from Dragon King Sports, and we are once again talking about Clay Travis and how he's embarrassing himself yet again with the Caitlin Clark narrative. Without further ado, roll the tape.
To me, what's interesting about what's going on right now is none of her teammates are standing up for her.
Because there's nothing really to stand up for. She's just getting the same treatment as everybody else. What do you want? Her to have special privileges? Another reason could be because she showed up late to a post-game press conference, which is disrespectful to her teammates' time and effort. They were in the middle of talking, and she pulled up a chair and sat down. To me, if you don't have teammates coming to your defense, that is an indicator. I'm not saying this is true for her, but it is an indicator that a player could possibly be a locker room cancer. Someone who doesn't vibe or doesn't gel with the rest of the team. I'm not saying that's true in her case. However, it is telling that she showed up late to a post-game press conference. And I'm actually a fan of Caitlin. She's the reason that I've watched a few highlights of WNBA games on YouTube. I'm a fan of her game. She reminds me of Steph Curry, but the women's version. And like I said, I've never really watched much WNBA games, but I have watched highlights now because of her. Before, I didn't care at all. Now I care at least a little. So don't get me wrong. I am a fan of Caitlin Clark. I'm just saying.
Because I don't think they like her either. Because they don't like the fact that she's white and straight. She's actually the minority here, and she's being treated unfairly based on this.
She is the minority in the sense of her race. Yes, most of the WNBA, the vast majority are African American. That is true. However, she is not the minority when it comes to her sexuality. I don't understand why they keep trying to push this narrative. We discussed in the last video, only 38% of the league is lesbian. She is straight. Obviously, that makes her the majority. Clay Travis obviously doesn't look up statistics. He obviously can't back up his claims. And he should probably take a media literacy class.
And that's unfair because Caitlin Clark would be in the WNBA no matter what her race was, no matter what her sexual preference was. She is Steph Curry, in my opinion, WNBA version.
We are in agreement. I concur.
Now, what's unfortunate about this is WNBA doesn't know what to do. I made a joke, like you can suspend somebody and fine them 2 game checks, but it's only $18.68. They make no money. I think, what is Caitlin Clark's yearly salary, like $70K? The graduating lawyers make $150K now. Random lawyers all over the country make twice as much money as a rookie in the WNBA.
Get to the point. We get it.
So Caitlin Clark is a rising tide lifts all boats. Everybody gets to fly charter flights now after 30 years not doing it. And these women are tearing her down, which is so counterproductive.
So she makes less money than a random lawyer, but she's also simultaneously the reason why WNBA players are flying charter now, apparently. And she's a rising tide that raises all boats. Make up your mind. Which one is it? Because if you think about this for even a modicum of a second, you'll realize this moron Clay Travis just contradicted himself.
And the only racism we talk about is white, primarily to black, but occasionally white to Hispanic or white to Asian or whatever. And any other racism, people just pretend doesn't exist. Do you remember Stop Asian Hate? Do you remember when all the Asian people were just getting the crap beaten out of them all over San Francisco, California, and New York City? Asian people just walking down the street get beaten up. You know who was doing it? Overwhelmingly black people.
And once again, he doesn't cite a source, doesn't cite a statistic, a study, anything. He just says it. And that's kind of what these media personality types will do. They'll just gaslight you just by saying it. and most people will just believe it because that's what they want to believe. If they're consuming that media, they won't actually look into it. I did look into it though, and I couldn't find really any conclusive study that says the percentages of what race was targeting Asian Americans in San Francisco during that time period. However, I did find a lot of information about how one guy who is alleged to be responsible for half of all the Asian hate crimes during that time period was arrested. And I watched the video of the surveillance cameras catching him shooting a slingshot through Asian businesses' windows and stuff like that. And it looked like from his hands that he was white. He had his face covered, so I couldn't tell. And I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that he was 100% white. But I don't think he was black based off of what I saw from his hands. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So to say it was done by overwhelmingly black people when they arrested the guy who is alleged to be responsible for half of the Asian hate crimes seems a little disingenuous, especially when you can't provide a source for me. Also, this dude's name is Derek Barreto, and I tried as hard as I could to find a mugshot of some sort because, like I said, all I had to go off was the surveillance cameras, and it looked like his hands were white. Of course, his face was covered, but none of the news articles I looked into had his mugshot. Like, none of them. So I don't know what's up with that. But he was arrested, booked into jail, and he is said to be responsible for half of the Asian hate crimes during that time period. And he didn't look black to me.
So our society is so unable to comprehend the idea that black people might be racist against Asian people that the story mostly disappeared.
It mostly disappeared because it was made up inside your own head. That's why.
Look at the guy who got murdered in Memphis. Young guy driving a car, did nothing wrong, got pulled over by the Memphis police on video, got the crap beaten out of him. Story just goes away. Huge group of black Memphis police officers murders a black guy, beats the crap out of him on video. Everybody can see it. He didn't get a statue. He didn't get a public statement from the White House for days and days on end. He didn't have funerals all over the country.
Now, I don't know exactly what case he's talking about because, once again, he doesn't cite anything, say a name, bring up a news article, nothing. But I'm guessing he's talking about Tyree Nichols, who was murdered in Memphis. He's a black guy who was a FedEx driver, driving his car or truck, whatever they deliver in, and was pulled over and was beaten to death for several minutes by black Memphis police officers. If that is what he's talking about, and that's the only instance in Memphis I know of where black police officers beat a black man to death while he was driving, or after they had pulled him over, I should say. If that is what I'm thinking of, the White House absolutely did release a statement on it. Joe Biden released a statement, or at least Joe Biden's team, because Joe Biden probably doesn't even know what country he's in and what year it is, let alone have the wherewithal to release a statement. But once again, these people don't think we have access to Google because this is all on whitehouse.gov, easily accessible. All you got to do is seek it out. But these people think that their audience is too stupid to fact check them. And judging by the NPC-ass comments in the replies, I think that their audience is too stupid to fact check them. Second thing he said is that they don't have funerals all across the country when a black person gets killed by another black person, which is true. But the implication that he's making is that when a black person is killed by white police officers, there's funerals all over the country, which is just factually incorrect. They have what's called candlelight vigils. And there was candlelight vigils for Tyree Nichols all over the country, most notably in Sacramento, California.
But I think the treatment of Caitlin Clark has become such an issue that even on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith's acknowledging it now. I think you can go read. When I started saying this, I give credit to Bobby Barack. He's written about it at Outkick. All the usual outrage merchants were like, oh my gosh, Clay Travis just said.
Outrage merchants like yourself? What do you call what you're doing? You're trying to stir up outrage. Caitlin Clark is being treated no differently than any other player. As we discussed in the last video, Angel Reese gets it just as bad, if not worse.
That Caitlin Clark's race and her sexuality has something to do with the way she's being treated. Yeah. And now everybody's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I think that's probably what's going on. Otherwise, what would it be?
What do you mean, what would it be? Is this guy purposely pretending to be clueless? What do you mean, what would it be? She's an athlete playing a sport. That's what it is. What are you talking about, bro? What would it be?
Certainly that doesn't happen in men's athletics. I don't think there's any athlete. Think about this. Can you name a male athlete who is famous because of his sexuality or his looks?
Yes, Michael Sam came out as gay. He was an NFL player, defensive end for the Rams. He made headlines. People talked about him for a long time, and he wasn't that good on the field, but the reason he was famous is because of his sexuality. He is gay.
I can't. Because men's sports, all we care about is performance. In fact, the criticism of men's sports is if you're good enough, you can get away with anything. This is the other argument I've been making for 20 years. All that matters in men's sports is your talent. As long as it exceeds your problems, you can get away with anything.
He's acting like this also isn't the case in the WNBA. They care about performance in the WNBA too. They don't choose their starting lineup over who's lesbian and who's not.
Deshaun Watson got the biggest contract in the history of the NFL at the time, and over 30 women, most of them minorities, had accused him of sexual assault, and he paid them millions of dollars to settle.
And guess what skin color Deshaun Watson is? He's black. So how does this help your case that Caitlin Clark is being picked on because she's white? You keep contradicting yourself and think you're making a point.
Now, if you're really good looking and also really successful, then you get more famous.
No fucking shit, Sherlock. You're not making a groundbreaking discovery. Obviously, attractive people are going to be helped by the fact that they're attractive. It's called the halo effect. This is a well-documented thing in neurobiology. Obviously, the more attractive you are, the more favorable you're going to be treated by the average person. Obviously.
Tom Brady certainly benefits from being incredibly good looking and winning 7 Super Bowls. But if he just was incredibly good looking, nobody would care.
Because he got famous from being good at football and winning multiple Super Bowls. Obviously, no one would care if he didn't do those things because that's what he got famous for. But if you look at somebody like a model that got famous for modeling, then that's a different story. Who even knows what this guy is saying at this point? I'm pretty sure he just completely lost the point. He's just talking about attractiveness now, as if this has anything to do with Caitlin Clark supposedly being targeted for being white. These fools have the hardest time staying on topic, I swear. You guys don't know how much I had to edit out because it was just random nonsense.
And Peyton Manning ain't good looking, and he made arguably as much or more money in his career than Tom Brady because he was just good, right? So I think that's a bit interesting in and of itself. And there are so many layers here.
Once again, what does this have to do with anything? Jimmy Garoppolo is extremely good looking, but he's not a very good quarterback. So what are you talking about? Like, what's your point here?
Used to be if you were the Playmate of the Month, you got $500. Now, the numbers have gone up. That's $4,300 in today's inflation-adjusted dollars. So when they started with the centerfold, they got $4,300. I mean, there are a lot of women making six figures that have benefited, let's be honest, on OnlyFans.
What the hell? The video ends like that. That's how he ends the video. You completely derailed your point. What were you even talking about at the end there? Okay, obviously attractive people are going to have it easier in life. This isn't exactly groundbreaking science that you're doing here. And obviously, there are certain women who have made quite a bit of money on OnlyFans. Obviously, I disagree with that. I think that shit's fucking gross. It sends a message to women that they're only valuable for their body, which I think is disgusting. It also sends a message to men that they only deserve intimacy if they pay for it, which is disgusting. But what does this have to do with Caitlin Clark or her being bullied because she's white or her being bullied because she's straight? You completely lost your point and just got stuck down in the weeds. You're stuck in the mud, brother. This is kind of what I mean when I said that there's so much random nonsense that I had to edit it down. This video would be like an hour long if I left all that nonsense in. I only left that ending part in to kind of demonstrate what I mean by these people going off on random tangents that don't have anything to do with the point they're making. Also, I wanted to leave it in because it's just such a funny way to end the video. He just says, there's women making money on OnlyFans. Like, yeah, dude, we know. What does this have to do with Caitlin Clark? She doesn't have an OnlyFans that I'm aware of. Of course, I don't pay attention to that sort of thing, so I wouldn't know. But I don't think she does. She doesn't really have a need for an OnlyFans. She makes a lot of money off of, like, endorsements and things like that. So what does this have to do with anything? Once again, Clay Travis, clap, 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 dude. Round of applause. You showed us, dude. You're big brain Clay Travis. Anyway, guys, it's about enough internet for today. I'm done. I'm out.